SMR Podcast Network. You should be listening. What's going on, everybody? RWT family, SMR podcast listeners. Oh my god, it's been so long. I damn near forgot how to do this. But guess what? We're coming back. We're coming back strong. Cutting into it with an awesome pay-per-view. WWF In Your House Mind Games, September 22nd, 1996 from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm going to retract that statement. I don't want to say that this was an awesome pay-per-view. It did have a great main event, and it did definitely start hot. That I liked it. I don't know. I'm over here. I'm rambling. I feel one way, then I feel another way. Let's just review this thing. Let's see how I really feel. Let's just say that I'm happy to be back doing this. It's about time we get back to doing this. And we have a long road ahead of us to complete these Monday Night Wars. So I shall stall no longer as my notes finally pull up in front of me. And let's get to this. So the show starts out with like a mix of trailers. So there's one that played during Raw of Mankind and Shawn Michaels, and then it glides into another one talking about Goldust and Undertaker, and then it goes into another one again about Mankind and Shawn Michaels. So we get JR, Vince, and Mr. Perfect, or the commentary team for pay-per-views. Pretty much, I think, for a while. I'm not too sure when Perfect goes, but I think this is like this for a little bit. I think the King gets more involved later on. But JR says that there's going to be some games played with the mind, body, and soul tonight. Mr. Perfect says that you're telling me that the final curtain will fall for The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels will lose the title and his mind? Vince says, who knows? Anything could happen. And I'm like, well, duh. You can't like answer the guy's question at least. Like, be like, I don't know. I guess he gave the best answer he can give. Caribbean strap match. Savio Vega, Justin Hawk, Bradshaw. Kevin Kelly is in the back with Savio Vega. And I just remembered, I just realized, I should say, that Savio Vega is crazy short. I'm like, he's shorter than Kevin Kelly. I'm going to call him Double K. So Double K says, the challenge issued, challenge accepted. You ready for this Caribbean strap match? And Savio Vega is fired up. He said, he calls Bradshaw a stinky cowboy, says, you want to be on a pay-per-view tonight? You, me, Caribbean strap match. Goes on this whole rant in Spanish, basically says, he calls him stupid. He says, you want to fight me and Savio Vega here at In Your House? Well, you're going to get it. I'm going to fight you in your house, in your face, and I'm going to whip you butt. I don't know why, but I freaking love Savio Vega. Like, the fact that this guy's push stopped come the Nation of Domination kills me. Like, he's okay. Well, we're dealing with Fatu, or I believe that's what they're calling him right now. Yeah, Fatu. Yeah, Rikishi before he's Rikishi, and right now he's like playing this. He's playing the Sultan. Okay, and it sucks because he's so over, and that's the thing with Savio. He's just so over. It's not even funny. So the bell doesn't even ring. He comes beelining it to the ring, just running through the ramp. Doesn't even get the strap on, but the bell rang anyway, and it's like, it really shouldn't have, but whatever. I tried to ignore it, but with fucking Whippleman in there, it's hard to ignore the ref work. He's not like, he's not like a Nick Patrick or anything like that. He's a character, to say the least. So, they're fighting all over the place, but Bradshaw already has the strap attached to his wrist, so he's whipping the crap out of Savio, and, they're whipping him here, and he's whipping him there, and then all of a sudden, Savio's laying on the ground because he got whipped to shit, and Whippleman's like, you know what, motherfucker, and he goes and just walks up, puts the strap around his wrist, and I kind of laughed. I was like, you're a ballsy sumbitch, bro. But That means now the start of the match can actually get going. And so that's exactly what happens. So it's a traditional Caribbean strap match rules. Got to touch all corner posts, the whole 9 yards. And so basically it's a no DQ match until you touch all four corner posts. Say that 5 times fast. So they're starting to fight near the steps, right? Like it's already going to be a brawl. And immediately I recognize Tommy Dreamer. Then I see the Sandman, and then I see freaking Paul Heyman, and all of a sudden they're fighting like right near the barricade, and freaking Sandman spits beer right in Savio's face, and I'm just like, what in the fuck's going on? And he just looks at him, he starts slamming the beer in his head just like, Sandman does, and Tommy Dreamer is over there, and, and Heyman, and he's trying to pull them all apart, and all of a sudden, Vince is like, oh, that's just a local wrestling group. They're just trying to get some shine or whatever. And then guys like Briscoe come out to tell him to fuck off. And I'm just like, and it took away from the match. Like, you could tell that, like, they had to shoot a different angle. There was a lot of commotion happening. There was fans still chanting ECW throughout, like, the whole first part of this. But anyway, it ends up being they end up getting it under control. And Savio starts, strapping Bradshaw like he got a bad call from the principal, or as JR would say, getting spanked like a government mule, or getting whipped like a government mule. There's a spin heel kick from Vega. He goes for the 4th corner post, and he sprints for the 4th one, and Bradshaw just yanks the strap, and Vega does like a flying midair crash, and it was kind of awesome. And then we see more just Bradshaw kind of beating the crap out of Vega, and then we see him go for the corner post, but if you're paying attention, you see Vega's hitting him as pretty much Bradshaw's going along. So as Bradshaw gets to the 4th one, all of a sudden, him and Vega go to, like, do a little tug of war, like, oh no, you're not getting there. And Bradshaw decides, like, fuck this, dude. And he just, like, lets go and lets Vega basically, his own momentum, catapult himself right into the corner, face first, pretty much. And then he dives outside, and that's the end of the match because he hit the 4th post. And it's like, if there's a cheap way to get out of a win with this one, that's the cheap way to get it. Bradshaw looked like a beast. I really enjoyed this. This was fun. The ECW guys made it a little bit of an obvious shoot because, well, it was. It just made everything so, like, different. Like, the one thing you think that they would cut out of WWE, like from the network would be, an ECW random ass shoot invasion. But they decided to keep it in, and it popped the hell out of me. Maybe it helped inspire this rating, but I still gave it a 3. I said it was a pretty fun strap match, and again, the ECW guys were awesome. There's a highlight package for the upcoming match, which is Cornette versus Jose Lothario. Cornette says that Jose's been drinking 2 bottles of Gerothol a day. He uses his walker to do as a set of parallel bars, and his social security number is 1. And I'm just like, what? I think the other one he said was like, he's the only, like, you can look up his name in the Bible or something like that. I'm like, that's fucked up. But it was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. And he hopes that he bought extra strength poly grip because he's gonna knock his dentures out. Then we see a video of Jose, like, shoot training. He is legit training with the kids that he would teach. He's in there taking bumps, doing, what was it, like a snap nair takedown. He was doing, like, he was bumping, dude. He was in there getting it. And so that's the match we actually get. Is Jose Lothario and Jim Cornette. Cornette comes out in this red bodysuit and black pants, kind of like a Vader feel. Helps because, he has this music as he comes out, yells at the cameraman, I'm a bigger man than you think. And I'm like, by bigger, you mean fatter. Because I knew Jim Cornette was a fat dude, but good God almighty. Like, he's like one of those, oh, he's a legit 300-pounder. And not in a good way. But that's quite all right. All of a sudden, we get a glimpse of fake Razor and fake Diesel beating up Savio Vega. When the camera gets close, they book it to the back. And everybody's just like, oh my God, it's really them. They're really here. And JR's like, I told you so. I told you they'd be here. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Relax. There's there's fake as could be, and trust me, you're gonna get my reaction. I've since done a lot of notes to advance myself, so it's mainly just recording, and I've seen a bunch of these, and I'm gonna rewatch them. But the reaction that the people like give these guys when they come out is freaking priceless, and it's, oh god, I legit can't wait to get to those episodes now. So, Jose Lothario, first off, for those that don't know, he was a legitimate wrestler. He's actually a legendary wrestler in Mexico and somewhat in the States as well. And, you know, he is the guy that taught Shawn Michaels. So, you know, Cornette called him, he grabbed the mic, called him a broken down, crippled. He says he's 150 years old, and he'd give him a chance to run his yellow tail out of here, or I'm going to beat his brains out. And Jose makes his way down anyway, and JR says the best thing ever, as he starts ripping on Cornette because he was like, oh, he must have borrowed those pants from Yokozuna. And I was like, yeah, those are a bit snug, and he's obviously breaking the 300-pound mark. And I'm just like, dude, JR did not give a shit. And in a few weeks, you're going to kind of find out why. So Cornette swings, misses, pretty much falls on a banana peel. Lothario goes to town, lands in a big punch, picks him up, hits him with another one, and it's over. I gave it a 1 1/4, absolute squash. The best part about this was JR just completely ripping Jim Cornette. WWF Superstar line includes Farouk and Mark Marrow, which means Sonny and Sable are there, which is probably the only reason anybody wanted to call in to talk to any of them guys. The commentators are talking about the upcoming match on Raw between Mark Marrow and Farouk, while Mr. Perfect picks Farouk to win and become the new IC champion. We then see Brian Pillman walk down to the ring. As we're getting ready for the next segment, we rewatch the Bret Hart calling Owen and Pillman liars video, and Pillman goes crazy, calling Philly a cesspool, says the fans here are illiterate, degenerates, and then he introduces Owen Hart. Brian Pillman comes out and he says that he and Bret had to patch things up, and, you know, all that fun jazz was like, you know, Mom and Dad, what was the whole thing? He's like, we patched things up, and even Mom and Dad are happy for us, and it's like, what the fuck? I'm sure Stu Hart could give a shit if you and your brother are fighting. Like, we're going to shoot for a minute here. Stu Hart don't give a fuck about your problems, bub. So, he's just going on, and he says that how dare Bret call us liars, that's uncalled for. You know, he promised that he would be here in Philly to speak with these people, and, you know, we all know it's a lie. Owen says Bret might be going senile, but the only reason he isn't here is because he's scared. Then he calls out the man that he quote-unquote should fear, being Stone Cold Steve Austin. Pillman asks Austin, hey, why isn't Bret here? And Stone Cold says, well, when I walked into the WWS, his butt went home to Canada. And Pillman replies, you're like, so you're saying he's chicken? Stone Cold replies, he says, he doesn't qualify as chicken. He's more like the slimy substance that runs down the south end of a chicken. And I'm like, he's talking about poop. You know, just saying he's talking about poop. So he then says, if you put the letter S in front of Hitman, you have my exact sentiments of him. A super classic line. He says, if Bret ever comes back, it'll be me and him in the ring. Stone Cold says, you're going to get your ass kicked, and that's the bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so. I believe that was like the first real time we actually heard him use that line. I'm not 1,000 on that, though. So apparently cameramen like to follow around Mark Henry as he just walks around the landmarks of Philadelphia. His debut match is coming up, and I'm like, why isn't this cat training? Whatever. So we get the WWF Tag Team title match. You got the British Bulldog and Owen Hart taking on the Smoking Guns. Doc Hendrick is in the back checking up on Jim Cornette, who's being checked out by the doc. And it's obvious he won't be joining his guys at ringside. That's when the champs come out, and Billy is all over Sonny to the point where Bart has to yell at him to get his ass, in gear, like, get your ass to the ring, like, let's go. A picture of Sonny drops from the Raptors, like it always does, and Owen and Bulldog vandalized it. Of course, Sonny starts throwing a fit. Now Billy's mad because how dare you make my girlfriend mad. Clarence Mason all of a sudden heads down ringside. The one thing I didn't notice, or I didn't mention, I should say, is Clarence Mason actually had Cornette sign something as he was totally and completely incapacitated, and he just signed away something. So, just pointing that out. Anyway, so when Clarence Mason gets down there, the guys are confused, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? Hangs out anyway. Billy starts off hot, but then he's in there with Owen, so Owen outsmarts him, arm drags him twice. Billy gets mad at it, starts screaming out of frustration. Bart comes in, and Owen chop blocks him, and it looks like it hurt a hell of a lot. Bart's working over... I said Bart, Owen... Oh, there it is. Oh, I totally misread that. I was like, Bart's working over Bart. No, Owen is working over Bart. And we get a tag to Bulldog. The ref is like staring right at him, but he just walks out. There was no fucking tag. It was an early 90s WWF tag where we made it look like we tagged, I think. We tagged visually, spiritually. Whatever the fuck works. Billy drags Bulldog out. He beats him all over the ring, throws him into the steps before throwing him back into the ring. Billy hits a jumping punch on Bulldog as he's in the corner, starts showboating, tags in Bart. They go to hit their finish. As they do, again, starts hot dogging because that's what Billy's all about right now. That's when Owen comes in, splashes Billy, tries to get the cover. Now both men are down. Bulldog gets a near fall. Billy pops up, starts stomping Bulldog. The guns are working over Bulldog. It just goes on for a little bit. Bart goes for the running power slam. I'm like, that's totally Bulldog's move, so he knows how to get out of it. He then does. Slips out, sends Bart into the corner, ruins Sonny and Billy's moment, so he gets mad, shoves Bart right into the arms of Bulldog, who, of course, power slams this gigantic dude. Owen comes in, lays out Billy, so Bulldog gets a clean pin, and JR just screamed, we got new tag champs. I gave it a 3. I said, Owen Hart is great. Babyface or heel, he's just fucking great. Bulldog played his role, and the Smoking Guns might be on their way towards a breakup, which kind of sucks because I forget what we do with Bart Gunn, and right now he's, in my mind, he's a little bit better worker than Billy. Billy is just a little bit better of a showman. Work-wise, Bart's better. So right as I type breakup, Sonny jumps in the ring, starts yelling at the Guns, grabs the mic and yells, I gave you my time, I gave you my money, hell, I gave everything to you. I thought you could be champions. I thought you could be real winners. But you know what? You're nothing more than cowboy wannabes, and you're fired. Fired, fired, fired. So she storms off, and of course Billy's sad. Well, wait a minute. I want to do things to you. With my terrible accent. So Kevin Kelly is in the boiler room. At least that's what it looks like. And he's in there with Mankind and Paul Bear. Paul Bear says tonight Mankind will become the WWF champion. He blames the creators of the night and the Clique as the reasons why Mankind will beat Shawn Michaels for the WWF title. Mankind says he lives to make Shawn Michaels miserable, to make his Clique feel the pain that I've known. Uncle Paul says it's my destiny to hear Shawn's gurgled screams. It's my destiny to hear his liver rupture, and it's my destiny to cuddle the world title. And after all that, we will all have a nice day. Fucking great stuff. Great stuff. Not so great stuff. Jerry the King Lawler and Mark Henry. So, of course, King comes out just talking all the shit he can because, you know, that's what the King does, bro. He's been doing it since the 80s. Get with the program. Probably even sooner now that I really think about it. We get a clip of him and King... of King and Mark Henry on Superstars. King throws water on Mark Henry and laughs and says, I got you, just like that. I'm going to get you tonight during this whole press conference. King slaps Mark Henry, then runs to the back. We go to the ring. He's still talking shit. The only reason he watched the Olympics is so he could see synchronized swimmers and see if they would, if one drowned, if they would all drown. I laughed, and then I felt bad for laughing. This feels like Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler because King started out with a headlock and then he does, but he goes for a headlock. Hold on. Let me stop. Let me reframe this here. Let me set the mood. So if you pay attention to what he said. He tells him, I'm going to start it off with a typical headlock, right? So sure shit, he goes for the fucking headlock. And I swear to God, that's the same thing he did with Andy Kaufman. I'm going to start it off with a headlock. So he does a headlock, and of course, Mark does the minimal training, so he reverses it to a hammerlock. And fucking King is beside himself, like, holy shit, this motherfucker knows something. And so King goes for something else, and of course, he's, he counters it again. King tries to suplex Henry, and obviously he can't pick this fucking guy up. So King says, like, I'm going to keep doing it till this guy goes down. And it's like, guess what? He didn't go down. So the King runs at him, and Henry just kind of shoves him outside, and he falls out of the ring and just misses the guardrail, but Jesus Christ, he really tried to get there. King grabs a gimmick out of his tights, and he lands a few shots on Henry, and now he's dazed. Does not last very long. He wakes up, lands some big strikes, wins with a backbreaker submission hold. 2 stars. I wrote a lot because in reality, there wasn't much to this match. It just felt like this was Andy Kaufman versus Jerry Lawler. Just Andy Kaufman just so happened to be the world's strongest man in Mark Henry. I'm not going to say I didn't like it. I loved it. This was fun. This is old school wrestling. I think they go on to fuck with each other for a little longer, so there might be more. We get Lee Cassidy comes in. He tries to jump Mark Henry. It obviously goes nowhere. So Marty Jannetty comes in. He's like, I can do better. Well, guess what? He can't. He gets tossed out. Then goddamn Triple H comes in and he gets some shots. Then Mark Henry picks him up, press slams him onto the other geeks outside. Vince plugs the next pay-per-view, which is another In Your House, by the way, but this time it's Buried Alive, as there's a first non-sanctioned match where it'll be Mankind versus The Undertaker in a Buried Alive match. JR is curious why the WWF won't sanction that match, and I'm like, Vince is like, really? Well, yeah, bro, like, it's, one dude's gonna get buried alive, pal. What the hell? But I get it. So video package building Goldust and Undertaker, as Taker has been in a feud with Goldust and Mankind practically at the same exact time. Pretty much just feuding with them both constantly, which is fine. Definitely am not complaining about it. And so that's what we get. We get a final curtain match, which I guess is just a no DQ match. Yeah, that's what I wrote, no DQ. Undertaker versus Goldust. And Taker comes in, goes right after Goldust, and he tries to shut him down with a swinging neck breaker. Taker pops right back up, hits a big boot, follows up with a vertical suplex. Taker arm drags Goldust across the ring, hits the old school before throwing him outside the ring. Marlena has this small bag of gold dust, quote unquote. He throws it into Taker's eyes. They, takes advantage. They brawl over the ring. Goldust gets a lot of offense in. He's beating Taker, holding him on the ropes. Refs telling him to stop. I'm like, it's a no DQ. Fuck off, would you? You know what I mean? Like, let him just kill the guy. Like, the ref was way too involved for this being a no DQ match. Just let me say that. So Taker gets a chance to fire up. He does so. Grabs Goldust by the throat, throws him into the corner, using him as a punching bag, but Goldust is able to catch him, hits a power slam. Taker sits right up, ducks a clothesline, hits a leaping clothesline of his own. Goldust climbs the turnbuckle, but Taker goozles him, choke slams him off the second rope, hits the tombstone, picks up the win. 3 3/4 stars. This was really, really good. These guys have great chemistry with one another, and you can tell it. I think the last match that they did, I think I gave it about 3 3/4, if not maybe higher. So, but I mean, they don't disappoint. Let me put it like that. These cats don't disappoint. So, that's exactly what I said. Not sure if this one was my favorite. I think the first one was a little bit better, but I was on my toes the whole time. Goldust is a really underrated worker. God dang it, Rusty. Or what is it, Rusty Jr.? There you go, Rusty Jr. For those Too Sweet fans out there, if you're not a part of the Too Sweet clique, you need to get on RWT, get with the program. Kevin Kelly is in the back with Shawn Michaels, and he says, we are moments away from your match against Mankind. He says, Paul Bearer says, Mankind's destiny is a world title, but we know it's yours too. He says, or Shawn says he's nervous going into this match because he's wrestling the wackiest cat in the WWF. He's a little jittery, but he'll do what he always does, and that's find a way to get it done. Kevin Kelly brings up how Paul Bearer used the casket with the Undertaker and asks if Shawn is worried about what he'll bring now. And he's now that he's with Mankind, almost said Goldust, with Mankind. Shawn says that they're playing mind games, and if there was a mind up there he could play with, then he could get the job done. But there isn't a lot upstairs when it comes to Shawn Michaels. Otherwise, I'd really be in trouble. He says he has no idea how to handle them, so he'll just think on the job, which is classic Shawn Michaels. So that's the main event. By the way, before I get into the main event, this was like a super quick In Your House. Like I mean, maybe all these In Your Houses are like this. I did not grow up a WWF fan, so I'm not too familiar with how long these In Your House shows were. But most of these In Your House shows went no longer than like 2 hours, or at least this one barely went 2 hours. And again, there's a lot of filler. Okay, there's a lot of stupid shit. A lot of commercials, you know what I mean? Like that intro in the front, we don't always need that, you know what I mean? There's stuff you can cut, bud. So the Druids come out with a casket, and Vince tells us it's the same one that we saw in Superstars, which makes me think that they were playing mind games with Shawn for a while now. The match starts out, and you can tell Shawn is scared, with a look of fear all over his face. Mankind is in control to start out, and he clotheslines him over the ropes onto the floor. Mankind goes to take the padding off the ground to expose the concrete. Shawn sees this and decides to drop kick Mankind, then stomp him a few times, knowing he is laying on concrete. Shawn hits a crossbody, then jumps off the apron, shoves Mankind onto the concrete, or to the concrete where Mankind's head bounces off of it, and I screamed in fear. Shawn is regaining control. He hits an elbow drop off the top rope, tunes up the band, but when it goes to land the super kick, Mankind runs outside, begs for the urn, which Paul Bearer gives him, and I'm like, all of a sudden, I guess he uses that same urn to get his strength back, kind of like how the Undertaker would do. I guess, whatever. So, looks like Shawn was going for a stunner, but Mankind turned it into a rear naked choke into the mandible claw, which was a great transition, if I should add that. But Shawn reverses it, starts landing some shots until Mankind, starts landing shots on Mankind until the ref breaks them up. Then Mankind goes up, pops up, lays Shawn out with a one-handed shot. I think it's just like a big uppercut. That's right, uppercut to the face. Mankind is moving the Spanish announce table for reasons, and Shawn leaps over it and starts attacking him. Then Shawn suplexes Mankind into the steel steps. This thing goes forever. I have legitimately 2 more pages of this. This is one of these matches you need to go out of your way and watch. I could... fantastic Hurricane Rana reversed where he landed throat first into the steps. It just looked ridiculous. That was Shawn Michaels hit it, Mankind reversed it, and it just looked so bad. There was just them battling outside was great. Mankind goes for a spear, but Shawn moves, so he ends up spearing the post, walks into a power slam. That was into a near fall. Shawn throws Mankind over the ropes, but gets caught in between the ropes. Is able to use a mandible claw before he escapes. And when he and Shawn are outside, he again applies it. So Shawn's pretty much getting beaten down at this point. He needs to make a comeback. Mankind is not able to apply the mandible claw because he got his hand stomped on a bunch. Shawn rushes Mankind, ends up being back suplexed over the ropes onto the floor. Just freaking awesome bump. Also very scary. Mankind follows up with an elbow drop onto the floor. And then a swinging neck breaker. The ref is yelling at him to get back in the ring now. This match is just getting intense and awesome at this point. There was a couple of near falls, one off of a cradle pin. Mankind brings a chair into the ring just for the ref to be like, no, fuck that, get this thing out of here. Shawn gets pushed into the casket, but fights back quickly. He hits a leaping forearm, kips up. The place blows up when he pops up. He shoves the ref aside, hits a crossbody for a near fall, and quickly climbs the turnbuckle. Mankind crotches him, just ending all momentum. He goes for a back body drop. He goes to back body drop Shawn off the turnbuckle onto the floor. Shawn reverses it, splashing it, though Mankind putting Mankind through the Spanish announce table. Somehow Mankind is up first, gets a chair in his hand. Shawn ends, just absolute chaos at this point. Fucking Vader comes out. Goddamn Vader, of all fucking people. He goes to fuck up the 3 count. He gets, Paul Bearer ends up hitting Shawn with the urn. Psycho Sid comes out to make the save against Vader. Mankind's powers are awakened by this urn, and so he locks in the mandible claw to Shawn, and the champion is out cold. Paul Bearer goes to open the casket, and out pops the fucking Undertaker. And I'm losing my goddamn shit. I don't know how the fuck I typed all this without just going bananas. Undertaker stalks Paul Bearer and Mankind all the way to the back, and the match gets thrown out thanks to a DQ. I don't necessarily like DQs, but when it flows and meshes and all of it fucking makes sense, it works so well. If I read everything that I wrote, I would probably go about 40 minutes. Right now, I'm at 30. I guarantee you, me reading another page would have gone at least 5-6 minutes. So, 4 3/4 stars. Holy fucking shit, I wrote. Like, wow. This was one match that had so many twists and turns. It had more twists and turns than the Novo Grid. I said, yeah, look that thing up. Look up the Novo Grid. That's how many twists and turns this goddamn match had. It was so great. It started slow, and it picked up. Shawn looked like the heel. Then he came out as the ultimate babyface. The casket was empty. Then, bam, here comes the Taker. And I'm like, thank you, Take. Goddamn, I wrote 2 fucking pages. What the hell's the matter with me? That is exactly what I wrote on my notes. So I said the show ends with a lot of hot dogging by Shawn, showing off some ass cheek at the end because that's what Shawn does. And I said, well, I heard a lot of things about the main event, but I had no fucking clue that it was that badass. The rest of the show wasn't too bad. The tag match was good. Watching Sonny freak out was funny. JR versus, I put JR. Jerry Lawler versus Mark Henry was a modern day Kaufman versus Lawler. I've said that like 5 times already. Seeing ECW guys was absolutely insane. I popped maybe a little too hard for that. The Owen Austin Pillman segment could have been left for Raw. And Undertaker versus Goldust delivered like they always do. Plus great commentary by the one and only JR. 2 thumbs way up. I don't normally do Wrestler of the Week candidates for pay-per-views. But there are 3 guys that just stood out that I could not let them go by. And these 3 guys are Owen Hart, The Undertaker, and of course Shawn Michaels. So, you guys know the drill. I will put this up on the RWT page. You got a little bit of time to vote for it before this episode goes out. You know how the game goes. The winner will have their theme played at the end of this show. I hope you guys enjoyed this because I really hope to be making this a regular thing again. I want to be coming back on the reg. I just got to find the time. And guess what? We're going to start it with this one, and we're going to keep it rocking. So come back next week. I got another Raw Nitro for you, and we're on our way to Buried Alive, and for the WCW side, Halloween Havoc. So let's get it going there. Let's handle business. Let's make sure you're following me on all platforms of social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SMRPodNet, everywhere possible. You can catch more of my awesome opinions and more awesome opinions like the guys that I run with every Thursday on Max Wrestling. You can check it out, maxwrestling.weebly.uk or Max Wrestling, whatever the fuck. It's in the goddamn... in the links below. I'm the worst. Daz is going to kill me for it. Every Thursday, Max Wrestling, quit fucking around. You know you need to get down with that too. And if you're not a part of RWT yet, it's the best wrestling Facebook community there is on Facebook. All right? If you're a wrestling fan and you want to have your opinion without people yipping in your ear negatively, RWT might just be the place. If you think Matt Hardy needs to fuck right off, RWT might be the place for you. Maybe you just might be my next best friend. And I'm going to get the hell out of here before I ramble on forever. Enjoy the rest of your guys' week. I hope you had a great Valentine's Day. Love y'all. Be safe out there. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Peace out.
Up and down their spine. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy.
SMR Podcast Network.